Alright, South Park has always been an empire of its own, and I've talked about it time and time again on this channel because it is truly one of the best animated shows out there, and because it always knows what to tackle and how to tackle it, and the show is still funny and relevant even to this day. And even like on season 22, which I still consider good, which is a debatable statement, I know, I pointed that out before, but I still consider the show good. But anyway, don't get me wrong, the show's not perfect, it's not in its glory days anymore, which I consider to be from seasons 5 to 14, but there are so many good episodes that it's difficult to make a best list of episodes of just 10. Hell, it would be difficult to make a top 50 best episodes list. So today, I'm going to make the best episodes list of the top 25 best South Park episodes of all time, in my opinion. And also, I would like to point out that this is a revisiting of a previous countdown, counting down the top 15, which isn't good and got taken down by Viacom a while ago. That's why the reason I'm specifically remaking this.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 25, we have Free Willy Acts. Now, this episode is not very complex, but it consists of Kyle being tricked into a whale talking and claiming that he wants to go to the moon, when in reality it's just adults messing with him. But he actually believes this, and all the kids make their mission to get Willy Acts the whale onto the moon now. But the adults don't actually realize what they're doing throughout the entire episode, leading to some non-stop great visual jokes, and overall just really clever setups to everything. This one isn't really talked about much, and I hope it gets more attention in the future, because it's pretty underrated, I gotta say. This is one I will always enjoy.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 24, It Hits the Fan. Now, this is an episode that effectively mocks what is and isn't allowed to be said on public television, including the word shit. Now, this is an episode in which, if it were to be censored, then the plot would basically make no sense, because we are presented with an absolutely hilarious episode featuring shit 162 times, combining itself with some great censorship commentary, and it just truly is one of the best episodes today.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 23, The Losing Edge. Now, this is an episode that each plot in the episode works incredibly well and are both hilarious. The main plot consists of the kids just trying to lose at baseball so they don't have to play anymore, while Randy is being an obnoxious drunk dad, trying to fight all the other obnoxious drunk dads, which are easily some of the funniest parts of the episodes. And this really shows how the execution of everything, which demonstrates how generally immature the show could be, but it's smarter and funnier than you think. And this one definitely will always keep my attention.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 22, we have Make Love Not Warcraft. Now, this is an episode you see on every best list, but Make Love Not Warcraft is an episode that consists of the boys discovering Warcraft and all instantly being hooked. But they consistently run into a player who's so powerful that they can't even play the game. And a lot of the humor in this episode comes out of the visuals, which most of the episode being in actual gameplay, and the fact that Blizzard, the makers of Warcraft, actually helped make the episode in which it mocks the material but is still appreciated at the same time, just truly proves that's one of the best episodes. And like I said, this one will always remain one of my favorites.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 21, we have Christian Rock Hard. Now, this is a reason why a lot of South Park commentary is so strong, and I usually use this as a piece of evidence to back the claim up, but basically, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny start a band. They discovered the act of internet piracy, in which they decide to stop playing, which gains the attention of other more famous artists. Meanwhile, Cartman becomes successful in his Christian band because there's literally nothing else to listen to since everyone is refusing to play. And honestly, the commentary in this episode is still relevant to this day of what isn't allowed on the internet, because this came out when that was a very common question, because the internet was some pretty overhyped bullshit.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 20, we have Breast Cancer Show Ever. Now, this is an episode that is basically Cartman getting what he deserved after 12 seasons. Now, the episode is basically Wendy trying to make a point over something serious and Cartman insulting for her, in which he is challenged to a fight, in which he accepts. But the entire episode is just one long series of sketches of Cartman trying to back out of what he put himself in, and the ending of Wendy just beating the shit out of Cartman is one of the best moments in the entire series.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 19, we have All About Mormons. Now, this is one of the best episodes because of the message behind it, which states that as long as a religion does not spread hate, and nobody should care about what it thinks. And now, the plot involves a family of Mormons moving to South Park, and they're seen as outcasts because they're a lot better people than pretty much everyone in the entire town, but it doesn't step away from mocking the Mormon religion as well, and the scenes where it just mocks it are pretty hilarious, and honestly, it is just one of the strongest episodes in the entire series.
South Park and meet meet some friends, man.
At number 18, we have Woodland Critic Christmas. Now, with the exception of the two-parter in Season 18, all the South Park Christmas specials are really great, and the Woodland Critic Christmas is easily the best. Now, basically, to sum it up, Porcupiney the Porcupine is pregnant, and that's all I'm going to describe, because the episode is that good. I'm not going to spoil some of the stuff that happens in it, because it's just that good. Now, and the people that have seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and they will most likely agree.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 17, we have Fantastic Easter Special. Now, this is easily the most underrated South Park episode of all time, in my opinion. Now, considering the creators have stated that it's probably in their top 5 episodes, and it's an episode that is a clever parody of the Da Vinci Code, which cleverly uses mockeries of Easter and overall Christianity religion. Final act of the episode, making it one of the most memorable in the series for me.
Come down South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 16, we've Return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Towers. Now, with the main focus being child characters, with Kyle, Stan, and Cartman taking back what they think is a Lord of the Rings VHS. Yeah, remember those, when it's actually one containing porn, and then they go on a quest to return it, but then they interfere with others across the town, leading to the first iterations of our Stick of Truth characters going on a quest of ever proportions. As a big fan of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings series, there are some great references and jokes throughout the entire episode, making it one of the greatest to date.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 15, we have Fish Sticks. Now, this is an episode that's specifically dedicated to how it both mocks people with big self-centered egos, including both Cartman and Kanye West. And holy shit, I just gotta talk about the Kanye West impersonation. In this episode, he's one of the best mockeries of any celebrity ever, and I think he's the best South Park celebrity impersonation to date. He is fucking hilarious every time he's on screen. And yes, I know he appeared in the season 17 episode as well, which wasn't as good. Not a bad episode at all, but it just wasn't as good. But the specific choice of Jimmy and Cartman being the protagonist, I thought was a really good decision, because the dynamic between the two, considering Cartman is so self-centered and Jimmy is so nervous about what the joke could potentially lead to, it just certainly makes it one of the best episodes in the entire series, and I think many people are going to agree with me on that.
And meet some friends, man.
At number 14, we have Korn's Groovy Pirate Ghost Mystery. Now, Scooby-Doo parodies, much like the show, has been beaten to death, and I think South Park's Scooby-Doo parody is the best Scooby-Doo parody to date. Now, it takes the band Korn fulfilling the Scooby-Doo roles and finding themselves an actual groovy pirate ghost mystery, with the hilarious subplot of the rest of the boys trying to get back at some 5th graders using Kyle's dead grandma, and it's pretty fucking hilarious, and I think it's another one worth checking.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 13, we have the Black Friday trilogy. Now, the most recent episode on this list is a trilogy of episodes that tries to do many different things and succeeds at all. It works as a Stick of Truth tie-in, a Console Wars mockery, a Black Friday mockery, a Game of Thrones parody, and just a great series of 3 episodes. Basically, it consists of every boy in South Park trying to get the new consoles, but through many Game of Thrones tropes, specifically divides the PS4 and the Xbox players, leading to one non-stop trilogy of hilarious jokes, leading to a really satisfying conclusion. It's just one of the best to date.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 12, we have The Passion of the Jew. Now, this is another episode you see on a lot of the best lists, like Make Love Not Warcraft and Good Time for the Weapons, and both of which I consider really good, but this is the episode you see on every best list, because it perfectly commentates on the Passion of the Christ, which came out before I was born, but I know it was one of the most talked about films for years. So the other aspects of how the episode works, because characters are all dealing with the same thing, but it shows how they all react differently. Cal feels guilty because of his Jewish heritage and feels like the Jewish community needs to apologize for what they did to Jesus in the past. Cartman takes advantage of extremists, and Stan and Kenny just see it as a bad movie, and they're just trying to go get their money back from Mel Gibson. And the Mel Gibson impersonation in this episode is, again, one of the best impersonations of any celebrity ever. It's still not as good as Kanye West, but he is just fucking hilarious in this episode. All the plots work, the commentary is great, and like I said, this is the episode that makes it on all the best lists.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 11, we have the Coon Trilogy. Now, the Coon and Friends characters are characters that we've seen time and time again throughout the franchise, and there's episodes that featured before it, like Professor Chaos, who had multiple episodes of Focus and just different random appearance, even if it wasn't an episode of Focus. For example, Good Times with Weapons, Professor Chaos and appeared in The Simpsons already did, and Mysterion appearing in The Poor Kid, and getting their own video game and its Season 21 tie-in episode, and will soon appear in the South Park Phone Destroyer mobile game. But the Season 14 three-part sequel to the Season 13 The Coon is still one of the best series of episodes to date, which consists of Cartman being voted out of the group, and he's attempting to get revenge on them by teaming up with Cthulhu, and then Mysterion/Kenny is trying to find his identity and the reason for all these reoccurring deaths. And the proportions that these episodes go to are just phenomenal. It's a trilogy that works in every aspect and gets better considering this definitely boosted the character's popularity.
Meet some friends, man.
At number 10, we have Cancelled. Now, the main reason why I think this episode works so well is just a great callback to the first episode, but many of the events are reenacted, which implies that Cartman's anal probe was reimplanted, and it gets back to actually realizing why was it there in the first place, and it's revealed that Earth is actually a reality show, but since people are made aware of this, it's seen as less entertaining, and it's near a state of cancellation, resulting in Earth's destruction, preceding the boys attempting to have the network keep the show in the air. And yeah, I also brought this up before, but this episode has so many great jokes, and I won't ruin most of them for you, because this is definitely an episode worth checking out.
Meet some friends, man.
At number 9, we have Imagination Land, yet another three-parter, which I think is the best three-parter South Park has ever done, but still, a trilogy consists of our characters discovering Imagination Land, which is a place where all the wacky and wonderful things humans have made to live over the years. But then there's a terrorist attack, which Butters has left behind, and the wall in which all the evil things that humans created over the years have specifically been broken, allowing them to go into war. Meanwhile, in reality, Kyle is legally forced to suck Cartman's balls, and the US government is trying to get as much information out of our protagonists as possible. Everything is executed perfectly. I just gotta point out that this is also a major animation standpoint for South Park standards, because the quantity of fictional characters that appear in this episode, like, I believe there's over 400, and every time you watch it, you're gonna recognize more and more. I choose literally any frame from one of these segments within the episode and try to identify every fictional character that makes an appearance here, making it one of the best in the entire series.
Meet some friends, man.
At number 8, we have Raisins. Now, this really isn't better than most of the episodes on this list, but I think it would be incomplete without this. But the message in this episode of seeing how people respond to heartbreak is incredibly strong, and the speech at the end is certainly one of the best moments in South Park, making one of the best points they've ever made.
No thanks. I love life. Huh? But you just got dumped. Well, yeah, and I'm sad. But at the same time, I'm really happy that something can make me feel that sad. It's like, it makes me feel alive, you know? It makes me feel human. The only way I could feel this sad now is if I felt something really good before. So I have to take the bad with the good. So I guess what I'm feeling is like a beautiful sadness. I guess that sounds stupid.
Meet some friends, man.
At number 7, we have Chip Pokemon. Now, this is an episode meant for a target demographic, which I was never a part of the adults that had no fucking clue what it was everyone's obsession with Pokemon was in the early 2000s. Now, this perfectly mocks how both children's marketing can be diabolical, but also how the parents in this episode never realize what the Japanese are actually attempting to do by using these fake Pokemon as propaganda to specifically form an army to conquer the world, forcing the parents to find a way to stop it. This is definitely one of the most memorable episodes in the entire series.
Meet some friends, man.
At number 6, we have 200 and 201. Now, this is easy the South Park episode I have the most to say about. Now, this two-part is probably the most controversial thing in animation history. This episode in the works in so many different ways, though. It's a great piece of fan service for it being the 200th episode and all, which is packed with plenty of great callbacks and references. But the message in this episode is something that no other show has had the balls to do, because now the plot consists of Tom Cruise forming an alliance with every other celebrity South Park had made fun of at the time, and the only way that this force could be prevented is that if they get a physical appearance of Muhammad, the Muslim prophet, to appear in the town. But the Muslim extremists won't allow that, so for it to be shown, also the genders are back and they threaten the entire town. So basically the entire town is fucked. And then the impersonation of Muhammad actually makes an appearance in this episode. But here it is censored, and the name in character model, because the network was censoring the episode, defeats the entire purpose of what it's trying to say, because there are even non-vulgar parts that are censored. Because the uncensored speech at the end was eventually leaked online, and I believe that this is the best point South Park has ever made, and it sucks that it was bleeped in the TV airing.
You see, I learned something today. Throughout this whole ordeal, we've all wanted to show things that we weren't allowed to show. But it wasn't because of some magic goo. It was because of the magical power of threatening people with violence. That's obviously the only true power. If there's anything we've all learned, it's that terrorizing people works.
That's right. Don't you see, Gingers? If you don't want to be made fun of anymore, all you need are guns and bombs to get people to stop.
That's right, friends. All you need to do is instill fear and be willing to hurt people, and you can get whatever you want. The only true power is violence.
Yeah.
And it's crazy considering South Park actually got away with showing Muhammad uncensored in the season 5 episode, because this issue of Muslims treating people with violence over the people that do not condone the rules of what their religion says was not an issue until season 10, in which another great two-parter, Cartoon Wars, but I'm curious to see if they will ever do anything like this again. Well, I'm going to say I'd recommend this one, but it's not the easiest to watch. It's never been rerun on Comedy Central, it's not on Hulu or South Park Studios, it's not on the DVDs in some countries. In America, at least, I can get them, but it's not on Google Play either, which sucks because this is a good episode that must be seen, and is truly one of the best because of its message, amazing writing, and just great fan service overall.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 5, we have Good Times with Weapons. Now, this is another one that ends up on a lot of best lists because it really is a great episode. It consists of the boys obtaining real ninja weapons, and then they're pretending to be anime ninjas. Now, I don't watch a whole lot of anime. I love a lot of the Studio Ghibli movies, which I've talked about before, but this episode works because you see the children's perspective of what they're imagining, rather than Shin Pokemon, for example, takes an adult point of view. But we see the kids' perspective, which brings out some hilarious anime parody scenes, and it's definitely one of the best that I think many people are going to agree with me on the statement. At number 4, we have Child Abduction is Not Funny. Now, when I just think hilarious commentary that South Park has given us over the years, this is one of the episodes that come to mind, because it has some of the best laughs in the series, and perfectly demonstrates how people's fear of public safety can be taken to unnecessary extremes, and it has some of the best scenes in the show, and plus, like the side plot about the city walk, guy building the wall is just, will always get a good laugh at me. Considered the funniest in the series, it always remains one of the best, in my opinion.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 3, we have Casa Bonita. Now, there are a lot of episodes involving Cartman trying to pull off a clever but ridiculous scheme with Butters, and I think this one is easily the best. Now, Stan, Kenny, and Butters are invited to Kyle's birthday party at Casa Bonita, an actual Mexican restaurant in Denver, but Cartman is invited, and he decides if Butters can't make it, then Cartman can take his place. So he convinces Butters that a cannibal apocalypse is happening, and he makes him hide from the rest of society for as long as possible. And it's just hilarious how Cartman is attempting to prevent Butters to realize what actually is going on, which constantly makes it unpredictable and what's going to happen next, making its placement as the 3rd best episode, one of my all-time favorites.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
At number 2, we have Super Best Friends. Now, alright, this is the other Muhammad episode I mentioned earlier, but this episode makes the number 2 spot because of the commentary of how cults' influence of power is negative, and it just brings up a hilarious parody of the Super Friends, which each religious prophet is parodying a different DC superhero, which brings up plenty of great jokes and a good action-packed finale.
South Park and meet some friends, man.
I think season 6 was the best South Park season, and if you look at any best list, I'm guaranteed there's at least one, or maybe a few South Park season 6 episodes on there, including this list. What I consider to be the best episode in the show's history is the biggest douche in the universe. Now, this is another episode where it takes advantage of all the characters reacting to something in different ways, and basically, since Cartman had consumed Kenny's ashes in a previous episode, Letter to Heaven, the boys Leanne and Chef go to see John Edwards, in which they realize that what they're doing is bullshit, except Kyle, who sees it as that his grandmother is actually watching him, and then he goes to a Jewish school. And Stan basically roasts John's parents' return and try to get Kenny's soul out of Cartman, in which everything flows just perfectly, and it's just fucking hilarious. Like, for example, some of the jokes in this episode, like the Rob Schneider gags, are some of the best jokes in South Park.
The stapler. Schneider is Kenny. A carrot. Schneider is da derp da derp da diddly derpy derpy down. Rated PG-13.
And South Park is a show that I respect more and more as time goes on. It's still ongoing, and I still enjoy it to this day. And I gotta say, it's quite an accomplishment what they pulled off. And like I said, it's not easy to make a list of all the best episodes that people are gonna agree on because there's too many good episodes to make a complete best list on. That's why I think I find these lists interesting. But anyway, this show is certainly an accomplishment, and I hope it ends in a few years because I'd rather have it end good than go in a state of Simpsons or Family Guy. But anyway, I'm Dr. Henry. I'm signing off.